Today, Tony Locantro's 2-year Carniversary. Well, again, it's Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics, one latest post covering finance and property news. Big event today. Tony Locantro's back. Hi, Tony. Nice to see you again.
Great to be here, Martin, and under different circumstances on this chat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a 2-year anniversary of a very important event for you. I have to say, you're looking absolutely great on it. So let's talk a little bit about that. But just to set a context here, there's a lot of interest in the financial markets and what's going on in the financial markets. But it's really important that people think about their own health and well-being. And, this is a conversation which is an indirect consequence of doing some different things and important things, but basically it's about looking after yourself.
100%. And there's no point being a student of the markets and making enough money to pay your utility bills and put yourself in 3-star mints if you don't have your health. And I've certainly lived the high life, earning a lot of money, basically being a carbohydrate addict, a connoisseur of fine wines, empty calories, poisoning myself, then wondering why I didn't feel good about life. And I guess it goes back to New Year's Eve 2022. I was sitting there drinking 65% calories, cheap bubbles. And I thought, stuff it. I'm going to stop drinking, maybe for a month, maybe 2 months. And now I'm into my 3rd year without a drink. I entered a lottery and won a dinner box subscription, which taught me to reduce my calories. Then I just kept delving into research. And one night I was watching 60 Minutes and the good Dr. Anthony Chaffee, an American who now lives in Perth, spoke about the carnivore diet. And I said to my wife, I might try this. Can I have one last vanilla slice? And she said, no, you're starting this instantly. And 2 years later, here I am. A few things have changed. There's been a few updates, a few developments. But this lifestyle really suits how I invest. I go against the herd, and the population generally is becoming sicker and fatter. And in my job, I'm a stockbroker. I need to be 100% mentally alert, and my clients get access to me every day, and I can answer the phone, make multiple calls. And I've rarely had a bad day since I've been on the diet and the way of life. So it's been a spectacular success for me. And I just want to highlight my 2-year journey, make a few points, and emphasize a new documentary that's just come out, which I think more people should know about, because as far as I'm concerned, this is the slam dunk for the carnivore diet. And I know that the haters are going to hate, but sometimes in life, Martin and viewers, it's good to be your own guinea pig. It's not to take someone's word for it, but to actually try it for yourself and see what happens. So as I said, 2 years, it's flowing. And when you get to my age, I'm turning 54 in a couple of weeks, you start to calculate, well, how many good years do I actually have where I can enjoy my money, where I can travel, where women will still look at me, find me reasonably desirable, how long can I play sport, and all of that, because there's no point being the richest guy in the small cardboard box sprinkled somewhere. No point. So I take the view now that I've wasted a lot of my years. Well, yeah, I've had a good run. Let's face it, I've had a great life, but it could have been done better. And now I'm in the position where I've been the human guinea pig, that maybe I could change someone's life, even if they don't totally agree with what I'm about to say.
So, yeah, Tony, I think this is a really interesting and important conversation. My observation is this: it's mad that we've got big pharma and big food effectively pumping each other, right? At the moment, we've got more and more people eating more and more of the wrong stuff, and we've got big pharma selling more and more drugs to try and actually reduce weight for those people that have eaten the wrong things. And that is not a good look for anyone, not least individuals. It might pump up the balance sheets of big corporate and big food. But there's another very important point here that actually you can take control of your own life and own situation. And if you do, you can make some significant changes. Now, I'm turning 70 this year. And, I continue with my 25,000 steps a day. That's more than 10 miles a day. Because I find for me that's the way that I actually keep fit and keep agile and keep my mind sharp. If I were to stop that for any reason, I would absolutely feel it completely different about myself, and I think not have the same amount of energy because I've got two dogs, which helps too. Now, you found a route to this as well, which is a fascinating story. And the message I think both of us want to communicate today is that life and lifestyle is a choice. There are decisions that you can take or not take. And if you take those decisions and make those decisions, you can go one way. If you don't, you might go a different way. The trouble is that so many people don't seem to understand that actually there are things that you can do personally to change your direction.
Yeah, and even a small change. And I think as I get through my presentation, a couple of things are going to shock people, and they'll have something to talk about at their next dinner party, because it's actually quite shocking how the world has become so unhealthy, and it's only a handful of people that have caused it. And now we have a handful of influencers that are trying to turn around that damage. But the interesting point is there's no money in this,
Mm.
really, unless you really want to reach out and join a community. You can hand over money, but I'm not making money out of this. This is a passion of mine. And can you imagine if someone watching this just makes one small tweak and it adds years to their life, or it makes them feel better, or it's just that simple. And I thought this would be complicated, but I can tell you what, it's not. And all you're going against is urban myth and old wives' tales. And you're led to believe that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Well, I'm about to reveal some interesting stuff about the guy that created that. And it's shocking. And you look, there's no profits for big pharma if they cure someone. They want you to take a drug for the rest of your life, more or less on a subscription basis. They don't want to cure diabetes. They don't want to cure high cholesterol or high blood pressure. Why would you do that for? Because you don't make money out of that. But anyway, I've found the secret sauce, so to speak. I've been able to stick to it 99.99% of the time for 2 years. And it's funny, this up for a whole month, I've given up cheese, no milk, no, pretty much no artificial sweeteners till my birthday on the 18th of July, where I might have something a little bit sugar-free but slightly sweet. So I can adjust this to make it even more disciplined, and I'm loving it. I'm loving the fact that I've got to look for pure, clean options rather than getting lazy. And sure, I would have loved that last vanilla slice, but I could almost taste it. So I think that doing what I'm doing is hopefully going to help the people I deal with on a financial basis as well, because they're dealing with someone who's physically and mentally fit, who's not going to be in bed with a hangover the day one of their stocks goes to the moon and they need someone to help them. So I'm all for that. And I've put together not an extensively long slideshow, but hopefully we can start running through it. Part of the reason why I've done this, I was a young surfer. I grew up playing rugby union. I lived on the northern beaches of Sydney, so most mornings I'd end up surfing at Curl Curl. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I joined the New South Wales Police Force and they made you become fit. So I had to do a lot of exercise, aerobics, had to do obstacle courses. Your lungs would burn, but I was a young, fit police officer. I didn't look too bad in those days. And then in about during the GFC, I went to LA and there's me waiting to see Slash, the guitarist from Guns N' Roses. And I saw myself on the video and I'm thinking, yeah, I don't look that great. And I looked as though I weighed probably about 125 kilos. And I have been there a number of times where you max out the personal scales at 120. And I thought, I need to do something about this. And the photo on the right is my carnivore journey, still only a year into it. So it was all about being fit and healthy. Admittedly, when you're a cop, you get handed a lot of free food, half price Maccas. I'd sit on Bondi Beach in the police car and gulp down a bag of sausage and egg McMuffins. And then, often there's a bit of a drinking culture when you're not working. So I could see how I could easily put on 40 kilos. When I was in the police academy, I was 85, 86, and I'm bang on that right now. So one of my favorite sayings in anything is this one from Mark Twain. So it's what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. And I think that sums up the financial world and every aspect of life that we live in, because people are so sure about what they know, but most of the time they don't know a thing. And I have a saying in finance that fear is temporary, greed is perpetual, and human stupidity is infinite. And I can assure people that's certainly the case. So how have I achieved my transformation? Carnivore, which is pretty much exactly what it entails. I only eat products from animals, mainly red meat. Red meat is the most nutrient dense food on the planet. Eggs, I know that in the past they were saying to throw out the yolk and eat the white. Well, now you just eat the whole bloody egg. And Nick Norwitz did an experiment where he ate copious amounts of eggs and it actually reduced his cholesterol. So I do enjoy seafood. One of my prime aims is to go to the Epicurean buffet at Crown in Perth, spend $110, but eat $300 worth of oysters. So I love seafood. The only downside with seafood is it isn't fatty enough. Same with chicken. I do like chicken wings, but really the key is beef. So there is the best book ever written on the carnivore diet. It's by Judy Cho. The book is near impossible to buy here in Australia, but it is available at your library. I'd strongly suggest going to borrow it. She makes an enormous amount of sense. And what she does is she covers where you get your nutrients from meat, whereas in plants, they are certainly harder to get. And the other good thing about Judy is she's all for the content, the nutritional content of pork belly in particular, which is one of the most nutrient dense foods on the planet, and it's delicious. My wife has worked out the perfect recipe for it. You can often buy it for between $11 and $16 a kilo, and that's awesome. And ribeye or any type of steak is fantastic. If you're thinking this diet is expensive, then supermarkets still charge the least amount of money for mince that is only 3-star, but that's actually the healthiest. So the fattier the meat product, the better. So they knew in the 1800s that saturated fats was the way to go. And then again, the American Heart Association was paid off to say that all the disease was caused by saturated fat and not seed oils. And there's been many papers written to endorse sugar over fat. So fat has been the bad guy and sugar not so, but we now know that that certainly wasn't the case. Interestingly, that Hong Kong has the world's highest life expectancy, and they also eat the most meat. And veganism, I think, whilst it's a choice, it's certainly not for everyone. And I know a number of mainly the raw vegan influencers have actually died from malnutrition. And I just think once you realize how much fruit and vegetables it takes to get the same vitamin complex amino acids from meat, it's a tough job to maintain that diet. And with fruit and veg, raw veganism, you're gonna have a lot of waste, and you do have to spend a lot of money. But just keeping to the animal-based diet, I think, is not only cost effective, but it's actually doable. And this is one subject that at a dinner party you could say, well, blue zones are a fraud. And in fact, I'm actually going to a blue zone soon, Okinawa, where people live to 100 plus. But what they've found in some studies is that at these places, they're still collecting their pension, but the people are long dead. So anyway, interesting stuff on blue zones, but pretty much a fraud, guys. So I'm all for animal fat. I believe that seed oils have driven obesity, so I try to avoid them as much as I can. And I cook everything in animal fat, even bacon grease. Part of my rare non-adherence to this diet is when I go to Southeast Asia with my family, I will have coconut. So that's why I'm probably 99.99% adherent to this carnivore way of life. But coconut oil is actually a healthy fat. And a lot of those bad fats were created for machinery and not human consumption. So there is a bit of a battle as to the extent to which they are truly bad fats. But I think when in doubt, simply cut it out. And another interesting point is that rice is sugar. It doesn't matter if it's brown or white. They're both evil. There's no such thing as a healthy bread. There's no such thing as a healthy pasta. Fruit is sugar, and cereal is also sugar. Now, getting on to my favorite historical dude, Dr. Kellogg. Now, breakfast cereal was part of the creation process to prevent masturbation. And, pardon me, as you can see, that it was all a lot also to do with the Seventh-day Adventists. Sanitarium was part of that. So it's actually disgusting how this breakfast cereal and processed food industry has thrived from someone's nutjob beliefs. And you also look at the sugar industry, well, they were paid as well. So I always get a laugh when I'm forced to walk down the cereal aisle at the supermarket, seeing all this 4 or 5 star rated absolute junk. It's pretty much 70% plus pure sugar, and is driving kids towards type 2 diabetes rather than a healthy lifestyle. So it's absolutely disgusting how that's come about. And of course, Kellogg's coined breakfast is the most important meal of the day. What I do is I will have a black coffee and try not to eat for as long as possible. It's kind of an intermittent fasting. but once you're on the carnivore diet, it's not that hard to do. So I'm now looking at people. I know most of us are on X. I'm just looking at 3 people to follow, and one of the most to the point, no bullshit carnivore on X is Samahul. He's only got 23,700 followers, but this guy is brutal. He tells it how it is. I see him there having a go at Jonah Hill, who looks absolutely horrible. But he really talks common sense about carnivore and the way of life. So I highly recommend following him. The second person to follow is Anthony Chaffee, who was my initial inspiration for joining the carnivore way of life. He just makes a lot of sense, speaks really well. He's an American doctor now practicing in Perth. I just haven't bumped into him yet. And if you're looking for someone more balanced, more of an all-rounder, certainly Robert Lufkin is worth following up. I read his book, Lies I Taught in Medical School, and it's quite a good read. Now, the big news in carnivore is this new documentary, and this will only take a minute to get through, but I cannot recommend this documentary highly enough.
We're too good of hunters. We came out of the trees not to eat the grass, but to eat the grass eaters.
Meat is without question the most nutrient-dense food that human beings can eat.
We're all getting sick. How can an ancient diet cause a new disease? And everything made sense at that point. We're carnivores, but we're not living as carnivores.
When we replace meat with grains, we get sicker and fatter.
How did we lose our humanity? What's taken us off track?
There's only one set of facts. We are just better designed and more efficient at getting nutrition from meat.
What you're putting in your mouth, it's either leading to health or harm.
We should be nourishing our bodies with the right foods and eating more.
Gotta remember where we came from and what our food should be.
It will change your life.
So Animal is available in Australia on Apple TV Plus. You can rent or hire it. I believe it also might be soon available on Amazon, but I cannot recommend it highly enough. I firmly believe that if you watch this, it's worthwhile giving this way of life a chance. And for me, it's a slam dunk. Fair enough, it's confirmation bias, but some of the facts in there will certainly point you towards carnivore. And I also quite enjoy the section where they go into more detail about Kellogg and the Seventh-day Adventists and a guy called Ansel Keys that have really stuffed up the health of the population, this drive towards obesity. Dr. Chaffee makes points that technically we should be living well past 100, but we're dying early, and a lot of that's to do with nutrition as well. So I'll come to my final saying. When you're healthy, you worry about wealth, you worry about the next asset acquisition, but when you lose your health, all you want to be is healthy. And I think that's a major point that you might as well give yourself the best fighting chance with your health. And I've discovered it, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm not going back to the standard Australian diet. My next alcoholic beverage, I think I've got about another 4 years. I'm actually going to maybe have a drink on my 10-year anniversary with my wife, but besides that, no, there's no way going back. I'm addicted now to doing the right thing, and it's just a great way of living. And I've done it. So if I can do it, you can do it.
Thank you, Tony. And it is, I think, very important for people to do their own research. But your experience speaks for itself. I mean, you can see yourself now and a few years ago,
Yeah.
and this concept that underneath a lot of what we eat, there are conspiracies and there are big pharma and big food playing with us. And so I think having some insights about just what's going on and understanding that what is presented as good isn't necessarily good. I can remember a few years ago people saying eggs are bad for you. Well, that's a bit different now. They've turned around again, and the proof, of course, is in the pudding, as it were. I mean, your 2-year journey so far has been remarkable, and the fact that you can attest for its effectiveness, I think, speaks real volumes.
Yeah, and I don't want to go into the cholesterol myth, but your health really, cholesterol wise, is governed by your HDL triglyceride ratio. And whilst your LDL will go up a bit, it's not the bad guy. And so high LDL cholesterol doesn't mean that you're going to die. Actually, people with high LDL cholesterol later in life actually live longer. I know that goes against everything we're being taught, but again, I saw a carnivore GP and he said my HDL to triglyceride ratio was one of the best he's seen, and that's all that matters. And in that documentary, they'll talk about that. I don't want to go into it. And you just have to know how you feel, how your clothes fit, how you can get through the day, how you feel mentally. But for me to finally get back to where I was in the police academy at that level of fitness and weight, it takes a lot of work. And I must add that paddle is now the fastest growing sport on earth. I go to the gym 4 to 5 days per week, and believe it or not, I actually play paddle between 3 and 7 days a week. And for me, that's where I get the maximum dopamine. I'm getting my cardio. I'm getting my hand-eye coordination. My son, I play with my son in tournaments. He's an absolute gun at paddle. And just to show you how young the sport is, I'm actually the 75th ranked player in WA, can you believe? And I'm a bit of a hack. But there's paddle courts going up everywhere, all over the world. It's going to absolutely take off in Australia. And there's only 8 courts in Perth. So yeah, I've found the perfect lifestyle is meet, paddle, exercise, and my partner, wife. So, but I just want to be in the best mental, physical shape, because I know that the market in what I deal with has turned for the better. And it's not restrictive. You can get by. There are lots of carnivore sauces you can make. There are lots of carnivore treats. As I said, I go to a buffet and launch into seafood, and you don't have to be 100%. You can have your spices. Some people will have a cheat day, but what that cheat day does is makes them think, well, I don't want to cheat anymore because I know how bad I felt eating that ultra-processed shit food.
Yeah, and I just want to underscore, I think, the importance of the exercise component as well as what you eat, right? And getting that balance right is quite critical. I get my exercise a different way. I take the dogs. Here they are. They look as though they couldn't walk at all, but they went for their veterinary check yesterday. And the vet said, wow, these are really fit dogs. They're 7 years old now. And we walk 10 to 12 miles a day. And for me, that works. And I guess that's my point, Tony. It's for people to seek out their own combination of eating the right things and exercising, putting that together. but with a very strong intent there to build a regime that you can hold on to into the future. You know, these fad diets don't actually work because people don't actually stick with them. You need to have a lifestyle approach that you can actually live with for the long term. And you found it, and I'm pleased to say I found it too with my particular approach to life. And it makes such a difference. You know, not only do you expect to see, you know, longer life, fitter life, but it just changes your whole outlook as well.
It does. And I started my long journey through Michael Mosley, through 800 calories a day, but I was eating the 800 calories, but the wrong foods. And that was hard to manage. Now with Carnivore, you pretty much eat till you're full. And there are lots of beautiful cuts of meat. Judy Cho in the documentary recommends the rainbow of meats. You can eat offal like liver, kidneys, and heart, but most carnivores don't have to. But there's also toxicity risks with liver in particular. So you do have to be mindful of that, mindful of the seafood, but it certainly works. And I think what will drive people to keep going, they might go on a diet and they mightn't lose too much in a month. If you start to see rapid results, you might tend to go on with it. But you know, I'm now at my target weight. Probably a little bit more to lose for my birthday. Then I will slightly relax. But I think that certainly that animal documentary will start to change things. I think carnivores are going to have more choice now because I think they'll start to create like sausages with much lower carbs. Carbs are the enemy, and there's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate because carbohydrates are pretty much sugar, and sugar, guys, it's evil. It's driving this health crisis, and now we have a chance to reverse it. And nothing bad. I haven't got scurvy or any nasty diseases. But if you're truly worried about, you know, there's an argument about fiber. You don't actually need fiber. People might say, oh, bullshit. Well, if you feel that way, supplement it. If you feel as though you need your multivitamin, take it. But you don't need it because you get all you need out of meat and eggs. Pretty much meat and eggs is what you can live on. Jordan Peterson's daughter, Michaela, went on the Lion diet, which is meat, salt, and water, and reversed every major autoimmune issue she had. And she's a remarkable story and well worth looking up. So, yeah, it's a pretty simple way of living. You can get off your medications. I know most of the population are being put on statins. They write prescriptions for it like there's no tomorrow. They can have some alarming side effects. There's arguments it might actually lead to dementia, but best case, absolute best case with statins is they could extend your life by 3 to 5 days, but they also have the chance to send you batshit crazy. So do your own research, guys.
Absolutely. And the final point, just people will say, but Tony, it's so much more expensive to buy those expensive cuts. Is that an issue, or do you actually find that from a financial perspective, it also pays as well?
I find it really cost effective. I hunt out, obviously, the meat specials. We find that pork belly between $11 and $16 a kilo, lamb 4/4 chops you can get for $16 a kilo. I can even buy, just going by a couple of pieces of fish or salmon. I find that you can get bulk chicken wings for $3 a kilo. Ground mince you can get sometimes for $9 a kilo. The supermarkets say it's only 3-star, but that's actually the best for you because the higher the fat content, the better. And you look at the price of a block of chocolate at the moment a block of Cadbury chocolate for $8. So you're paying $32 a kilo for chocolate. And if you really must struggle when you're out, a chicken treat or red rooster chicken, $15. If the worst comes to worst, I'll go up to the counter at McDonald's and say, look, can I have 5 4-to-1 beef patties just with salt? And that will cost you $15. So McDonald's charge you $3 for a quarter pounder patty. Hungry Jack's, Burger King, they're about $2.45. Yeah, when the bull market comes, instead of buying a new car or depreciating asset, I'll probably go a higher cut of meat occasionally. So cost-wise, I don't think it costs any more. And the bonus is you don't throw out anything. We don't have any waste. You don't have all these vegetables and fruit that goes off. So the waste is rock bottom, and you find that you're not going out as much, which isn't a bad thing. I celebrate every month with my wife, but we used to go out a lot more. And when you tend to eat healthy, you're not indulging in copious amounts of alcohol. So cost-wise, I'd actually say our costs are lower. So it can be done cheaply. But again, what price your health? What price your health? I mean, cigarettes, now for a pack of 40s, I think you can pay up to $100. So I don't know, $100, I could probably live on $10 a day being carnivore if I really wanted to push it and still be happy.
Yeah, very important point that I think, Tony. Well, I think this is literally food for thought. So well done on that. And thank you very much for celebrating the 2 years with us on the channel here. And for those watching, take seriously what some of these conversations are, because what you're being sold and what you're being fed in the mainstream isn't necessarily the full story. And just as I say at the start of the show, just remember that big pharma and big food are effectively in a deadly embrace, and we're caught in the crossfire. But then there are things that we can do to take ownership and take a different direction ahead. And that's what this conversation is about. Tony, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today. And I'll look forward to catching up with you 5 years down the track and see how you're traveling, because I think you're going to be in this for the long haul.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot, Martin.
Take care.